Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Rev, the middle hump day. That's it.
And
And
they had a quote unquote regular school committee meeting yesterday. What was
regular.
so regular about a Tuesday meeting? I guess Paul doesn't keep a good calendar.
Well, listen, everybody, they do whatever they want, and then they just use the propaganda network to just bury it or justify it, or I changed my mind. All you have to do is, I guess I heard on a news outlet today that Senator Mark Montigny is questioning the MBTA
Yes.
about the fiasco that we have going on. And for those of you who don't know Mark, he used to be the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Fall River many
That's
years
right.
ago. And then he went to New Bedford, and then he became a senator. So he's not trying to cover up the disaster that the MBTA is, but our entire state delegation. Nobody's saying they're going to go over there and
Including
the
our
riot
state
act.
senator. Including our state senator.
That's right. No, he's too busy. He's too busy watching for ways and means for his friends.
That's right.
While we spend money, but Montigny is upset, and all our delegation does is either not say a word or try to provide cover. Oh well, they're going to have buses. Well, that's not a bus line.
That's right.
It's not a bus line.
A bus isn't a train.
All I did was talk about the train. The train's coming. I said, shut up. You got a bus. Don't complain. It's like saying, shut up. You don't have a bullet hole in your house. So there's no crime in the city. I mean, this is the Fall River of the Paul Coogan. It's like, no matter what happens, it's like, just shut up. You're getting a bus. Be happy you got a bus. But what we do have is really nice lights and benches.
That's right.
Thanks
Those
to
are very
$7
important.
million of our opera money that could have been spent on the people of Fall River.
That's right.
But no, we couldn't take the benches that everybody else in the state has. We couldn't take the lights that everybody else in the state had. No, we have to get special lights.
Because Paul's friends wanted them.
That's right. That's right. And it's just, I mean, the things that go on, and not a peep about, what's going to be done about these idiots on the motorcycles. I haven't heard anything from anybody.
Neither have I.
Haven't heard anything more about the story we broke about and it was not an alleged complaint. We had a copy of the complaint.
We have a copy of the complaint.
It is a complaint. There was
right.
a sexual harassment complaint filed. And not a peepee at their regular meeting. Was there a peep? Did anybody go peep? Not a peep. You're living in North Korea. This isn't Fall River. This is like a suburb of North Korea.
It's something.
You can't get any information about anything, and it's kind of like, nobody knows anything about anything. We know nothing. We have a city full of Schultzes.
I gotta divert for a second.
Divert. Okay, divert.
This is important. I spoke to you about it yesterday. Now, this proves that the Democrats and the Democratic Party are full of shit. Okay? Because and we know this from Paul, because when the law suits Paul, he follows it. When it doesn't suit him, he ignores it. Well, in 1866, that's 1866, the United States Supreme Court ruled in the case of the state of Mississippi versus Johnson, President, the court ruled that courts cannot, capital letters, cannot enjoin the president in the exercise of his official duties. Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, which outlines the powers and responsibilities of the executive branch, does not grant district court judges the authority to issue injunctions against the president. So why do we have all these court cases? The courts already ruled over 100 years ago, 160 years ago. They ruled you can't do it.
Because Democrats don't care.
I know.
The only time they pay attention to a court ruling is when it's beneficial to them. If it's not, they ignore it. So, 1866, 1766, who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody cares. But we know that. Let's be realistic. Let's look at this like people who actually can read. District court, not United States Supreme Court. District court judges telling them what to do. Now, can a Fall River police officer arrest somebody in California? No. Not as a police officer. He does not have police powers. Somebody will say, well, he can make a citizen's arrest. That's right, but it's not a police arrest.
That's right.
They can't arrest somebody in Rhode Island. But these Democratic judges who are supposed to have gone to law school, you don't need a Supreme Court decision. All you need is a functioning brain cell to know that the word district court means that you have jurisdiction within your district. I mean, I guess none of those judges ever had a petition for change of venue in front of them. What is that? That is a petition to move from that court that has jurisdiction to another court because of prejudicial news media coverage or something like that, or they can't impanel an objective jury. But no, these people are crazy. They're just doing it to stop Donald Trump's America First agenda. It's about illegals first, Democratic power first, Democrat get rich on the stock market first, everybody first, but the regular American worker. That's the problem. Therein lies the problem. They're advocating again for all the people who are enemies of this country. They're illegal aliens, murderers, rapists. I just saw another article, I just pulled it up, that a district court judge, of course, it shows why they're emboldened in this country. It's because the Democrats want them to create all kinds of issues. And it is a Mohsen Madawari has told the president, I'm not afraid of you, after being released by a judge Wednesday, because he led anti-Israel protests. He was found and they were going to deport him. Now they're going to have to go again through the court system just to delay this fundamental terrorist who was trying to against I'm afraid, another protective order, again. They found another protective order against that guy who was quote unquote Maryland man, who was actually from El Salvador. Look, this is the problem we have. Yeah, you're right. If they're doing everything they can to stop Trump, but what they're doing is stopping his agenda, which is helping the Americans. Look, gas prices are beginning to come down. Egg prices are going down. Everything's going down. The tariffs will begin to kick in shortly and help. And the border is closed. The best border we've had in the history of border protection. And a country is defined by its borders. You have to have borders. He's doing everything for the people of America. It's America first. He campaigned on there for they, them, I'm for you. And these people, these Democrats, mind virus people who are crazy, they're worried about their own power. They want these people in here because they'll vote for them, because they'll let them run amok. Yeah, a judge releases a terrorist. So into the streets. I mean, hopefully Congress will do something about this, because Congress can legislate something, because district court judges are controlled by the Congress. And hopefully they're going to get they're going to get on this. And I think the best explanation of what's running the Democrat, there are Democrats who are hiding right now undercover because they don't want to be identified as Democrats anymore, because these people are so crazy. But Senator Kennedy from down south.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's really funny. He has a real good sense of humor in the way he puts things. So I watched an interview with him, and he told a commentator, he said, I was searching to try to find something that wasn't really bad about my fellow Democratic senators. He said, I wanted to be at least not be totally uncomplimentary. He said, but unfortunately, I couldn't find anything. He said, because to me, what the people who are running the Democratic Party now looks like the recreation room in a madhouse. And you know something? That was a great analogy. It's like the rec room in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. All we need is Jack Nicholson there looking for Nurse Ratched. This is crazy. It's crazy.
Medication time.
Well, these federal judges are elected by, they're partisan. So when their party gets in, didn't Biden appoint like 300 before he left?
I think so.
Way up there, massive amount of judges, Adam. This is how this stuff happened. They've politicized the judicial system, which that's not what the judicial system's for. Lady Justice is supposed to be blindfolded and she's holding a scale, but Lady Justice has got it's holding it like the scale and we got on our logo, the scale of justice. But they're not just, because they elect these district judges get elected by partisan politicians. They elect Democratic judges to rule for Democrats. And that's what happens. So now they go judge shopping to find a judge that was appointed by Obama or Clinton or somebody, and they'll say, well, they don't care about the law. They're kind of like Coogan. We don't care about the law. We're just going to rule in favor of and just obstruct the president of the United States. The people who always talk about this democracy is in jeopardy. Well, yeah, because of you guys. You guys won't follow the law. Yeah, it is in jeopardy, not because of Trump, but because you people are using your politically appointed judges to delay the America First movement, and people should be offended by that.
The problem has been and remains to be the fact that we, the people, cannot file a lawsuit against these morons, because when we do, they use our money to defend their positions. If I file a lawsuit against Senator Mike Rodrigues should have to pay for it out of his campaign account or out of his own pocket. If Carol Fiola is charged with a crime, she should have to pay for it out of her pocket. It's time.
Good one. I like that. No, but you're right. You're right. We had on the ballot at one time, if I remember correctly, electing judges.
That's right.
And the politicians said, no, we're not going to let you, the people, even though our Constitution said it's our government, the state Constitution also, and that there are agents and substitutes and answerable to, even though we told them we want to elect judges, we don't want you to appoint judges, they went, no, you're not going to do it. We said that we wanted capital punishment, and they said, no, you're not getting it. We said we wanted the sales tax eliminated, and what did they say? No. We said we wanted term limits, and what did they say? No, you can't do it. You can't have that. We told them that we used to vote for their pay raises. And after the Halloween massacre, they just changed the law. And now we can't change it back because it'll cost $20 million to take them to court to fight about the Constitution. And as CJ said, they will use our own money to drag it out for 20 years.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, you could win that case. Anybody could win that case. We all know on this show, we repeat the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts a million times, that they are. And part of the first Section 5.
Here's the problem. When I get liberal judges like we have on the Mass Supreme Judicial Court who turn around and say, if you want term limits, elect the people to have a constitutional convention to put that on the ballot. It shouldn't come to that. When that question appeared on the ballot and it passed, it did pass, the House and the Senate should have immediately put it on the ballot, the next ballot, for a constitutional.
Well, Colin, that'll never happen. But, the thing is that it should be, I think that, it should have been, and always has been, that if you take a position that's contrary to the Constitution or any law, that you cannot be indemnified by the taxpayers. The city doesn't represent you. The state doesn't represent you. The federal government doesn't represent you, whatever level you are on. Because when you're violating your oath of office, which they are, by the way, everybody up in Boston does that, but that's the problem. Nobody can run up the money because they will fight this. They'll tie you up in court for 20 years. Even though every time they get elected, they put up their hand and they swear an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which both are very clear. Both are very clear.
It's always the same bullshit.
Yeah, well, Mr. Transparency, the guy that, hey, listen, I know more about, what's his name there in North Korea, Kim Jong-un, than I do about what Coogan's doing. I know more about what's going on in North Korea right now because this city's been on lockdown since he got in. Mr. Transparency, and I obey the law. This is the problem. But it gets back to the Supreme Court had one part of that ruling that was right, CJ. They said elect people. That's what we've got to do. The only way we're ever going to change this government is bounce them all. And that's the problem, because everybody wants to keep their rep or their senator, because they can call his office and ask for a favor. Oh, can you call somebody but throw everybody else's rep out. How many times do they have to find? How many speakers of the House have they ended up? It took them a long time to get them, but how many times have they run them out of office and charged them with crimes?
Too many.
Too many. That's right. Too many. There's been at least 3, to my recollection, that have faced criminal charges for corruption.
I just got something in. Colin, you might be interested in hearing this. State tells Pittsfield School Committee to release the report on high school. A state public records officer ordered the Pittsfield School Committee to release a report commissioned regarding problems at the city's high school. The Eagles' Greg, I can't pronounce his last name. I hate mispronouncing people's last name. Suckenkirk reports the school committee is planning next steps following the ruling, which rejected the school committee's assertion that the report could be legally kept secret. Sounds like Fall River, doesn't it? Matt Malone?
Yeah.
Matt Malone?
And they're going to fight like hell to squash everything they can. Transparency, daylight is the best disinfectant. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Bring things out into the open. This is the problem. You know, and look, nobody abuses executive session more than the school department.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I have never seen a political body abuse executive session so much. Anything they don't want to talk about, even if it's not. I mean, listen, there are things, and you know it, CJ. I know you know, and I know, because obviously we've been in positions where we've been in organizations. I had a meeting today. You know, at the retirement board, we had to go into executive session. Why were we there? We were discussing medical issues that are protected by HEPA, personnel issues which are protected. Certain things are protected, but there are other things that are not protected. Just because you're talking about somebody, it may not be an issue that falls under that purview. But they use it to just cover up everything. Anything they don't want to see, the debate on, they stick it in executive session.
Anything Paul or Assad or Mimi Larrabee or Tom Corey or Shelley Pereira want to hide, executive session. Executive session, even though it doesn't meet the right criteria under the law. Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah. And again, we run into the roadblock of what's the cost? Sue them? Well, you can't. They're going to use our money against us, and they're going to tie you up in court forever.
You're right, Colin. There is power in the pen, and I sent that article over to you already. Your AOL address. I won't send anything to your city address.
Yeah. Well, but the problem with complaints is, in this state, they very rarely go anywhere.
They just disappear.
Yeah, it is. You know, I mean, and then they use it as a weapon, because when they don't want to vote on things, they go, oh, I can't vote on that. I got a conflict of interest. But then when they do want to vote and they do have a conflict of interest, they vote.
Yeah, and they say, I reported it to the Ethics Commission. They said there's no problem, which is the biggest line of bullshit going. And who was notorious for that? A former city councilor.
Yeah. Yeah, they all do it. They all do it. But the thing is, they give them a half a story, and the Ethics Commission says, well,
it's okay.
Yeah, you're all set. But they don't tell them that, by the way, but then all I have to do is go over to Fiola's gig. You can vote for money to give your own company's money, and they lose the minutes, and they say, shut up. You don't have any right to look at our stuff. We're not a public entity. Everything we do is in secret, even though what they're doing is fiduciarily illegal. You know, they also have fiduciary laws in the private sector, not just the public sector. Well, and they can say what they want, but I still say they're a de facto public.
I agree. They're appointed by the mayor. They're approved by the city council. Okay. They are answerable to the Massachusetts Department of DCR. So, yes, that's the way it works.
Yeah, well, they should be.
They should be.
They should be, because.
And remember something, Colin. Remember something. Before Paul took office, Ken Fiola was on the verge of bankruptcy. His building was being foreclosed upon. It wasn't until Paul came in with the golden goose, with the pig's trough full of cash, for him to use to pay off his debt. Because without it, he'd be out of business.
Well, you know, they're selling you a bill of goods on the MBTA, and we've been talking about what a great job you did, and you and Nelson did on the MBTA alerting it. They're still trying to cover it up. But the reality is that they're selling you a bill of goods. There'll never be enough times. She doesn't care.
She's like her mother.
Yeah, she's worse. I mean, I think she is. She's out of control.
She is.
But they're selling you a bill of goods on this market rate housing.
But you see, Shelley can't give something away yet. Linda can. Like her vote.
Yeah.
So that her friend's son could get in good rapport with the chief by getting Linda's vote. Corruption, corruption, corruption. I haven't watched it yet, Colin.
Nor have I.
I did get your link, though. I did get your link.
Look, all they do is sell people down the river. This guy cannot be elected. I just don't. 6 years he's been running this city into the ground. Market rate housing is a con. I want all of you guys to take a ride down County Street. They've closed up O'Gills. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with the area. I am. But take a ride down to O'Gills, and remember that parking lot that was like a half a block down the street?
Yes, I do.
Well, they've built 2 giant buildings on that little tiny ass lot.
Yes, they did.
They're building the second one now. And they're going to convince you that people from Newton and Wellesley and Boston are going to come live in places like that. The yard is 1.5 feet wide.
And remember,
they
no
subdivided
parking.
that lot. The backyard is about 3 feet. It's blacktopped, and the front yard's like 1.5 feet. They waived all the zoning ordinances and everything. Those things are ridiculous. You really think somebody that lives in Newton or Wellesley that has a yard with grass in it is going to live with? This is like living in a tenement during the mill era in Fall River, like we have in Fall River. They're rebuilding Fall River to get people like that lived in the mills, because you could almost stick your hand out the window and touch the other building. You think people are going to live in congested areas like they're building this, and they're all going to come down from places that are semi-rural, and they're going to come down here and pay that kind of rent when they can get a place. They can rent that anywhere they want. Somerset, any place else.
Those are market rate units, Jeff.
Yeah, yeah. And like that raffle, the raffle for it's not even a market, it's not even
Lottery.
an affordable housing unit. It's basically a workforce housing unit.
Right.
So they're lying again. And that lottery, you know, if you think that lottery wasn't rigged, you're crazy. But I am a conspiracy theorist. Now, that's my opinion. But look at the bill of goods these people keep selling you. When are people going to get upset enough to get to the polls? Let's hope it's November, because you can't take this anymore.
This is the problem. You hear everybody bitch. He's not doing a good job. He's ripping us off. We have no housing. Housing costs have gone up. Taxes have gone up. Water has gone up. Rents have gone up. He's doing it. He, meaning Paul Coogan. Yet, you go back to that same person and say, hey, who are you supporting for mayor? Oh, Paul Coogan. Why? You have nothing nice to say about him. You've complained about everything he's done. Oh, well, you got to understand, when my kid was in Durfee, he helped my kid out to graduate. So because he did his job, you're going to kiss his ass.
Yeah, well, nobody sees you in the booth. There's no way. Like I said, a small turnout, but people are upset. Look, you know, you're right. The zoning board, look, that's a catastrophe. They have waived so many things that are making this city more difficult to live in. You know, no parking places.
And the MBTA law didn't make it any better.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, you're right, Jeff. I mean, you know, these people, they want to know if they're a Republican or a Democrat. These people are crazy. These people got brain viruses. They don't understand the local politics is not partisan. The Republican Party or the Democratic Party it doesn't have any kind of issues on a local level that they can swing an election with, because it's about safe streets, good schools, paving your roads, making life better for the people. That is a nonpartisan issue. Now, when you get to the national elections and state elections, well, now you got a different thing. You got a lot of money to throw around. When it's a local, listen, some of our best councilors and half of the people that voted for them didn't realize they were Republicans. John Medeiros.
Yep.
Was a Republican. He was in the Congress. He was in the city council for nearly 30 years. Al Alves was one of our best city councilors. As a matter of fact, when he ran for mayor and finished just out of the running for the final, he finished third. He predicted all the wrongs that were going to go on with Fall River. And was Al Alves a Harvard graduate? No. He was a businessman. He was an immigrant who understood what it was to pay bills. And he was a fiscal conservative. He understood that people need to have money. And he was a damn good counselor. And a lot of people didn't even realize that Al Alves was a Republican. And he was. Right. Yeah, but it doesn't make any difference on a local level. Your school department, you know, it's your state reps that go up there and push, you know, talk about state aid and stuff like that. On a local level, it's about, do we pay for Diamond? Do we pay for Durfee? Do we keep picking the taxpayer's wallet? People who tell you that, this is the problem. They just don't get it. They just don't get it. Listen, Teddy Roosevelt didn't get a nomination for the Republican Party. He created the Bull Moose Party for a short time. But it's got nothing to do with that on a local level. You know, on a national level, they have platforms, but still, it gets down to what the person who's running is going to do for you. Do you believe in closed borders? Do you believe in punishment for crimes? Do you believe that illegal aliens should be deported who came into this country? Or do you believe they should all get motor scooters and cell phones and debit cards and all our money? And Maura Healey has already been exposed. She misappropriated money to pay illegals, while our delegation and the Democrats in Boston voted against giving priority for housing to veterans. So there you go. You can't say much more than that. You know, people don't want to run and go, what can I do? Well, you can run and you can get people out. If we get 25 candidates for city council and they all bring out a constituency, we'll have a turnout, 40, 50,000 people, and then you'll see most of these people gone. When you get these 12,000, 13, 14, 15,000 vote turnouts, Paul gave out 8,000 jobs already.
That's
in 6
right.
years. He's got a majority. He's going to win. He's given out so many jobs and he's handed out so much money. All the families of all the people they made rich are going to vote for him, but that's not enough with a full turnout. And it's not truly the voice of the people, but it's the people's fault. They don't want to come out. I'm so sick of hearing that excuse. Well, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just one person. Well, if you get 700 billion pennies, you got a lot of money, even though they're pennies. One vote can turn an election. If everybody casts their vote and we have a full election, then you can't complain. If we had a 70 or 80% turnout and Coogan was the mayor, you'd go, well, look, as much as I disagree with these people, they might have a brain virus, but he should be the mayor. But when 14,000 people control the destiny of over 90,000 people and over 50,000 voters, it's the voters' fault. It's their fault. They are the blame. Making an excuse not to get off there, and you don't even have to get off your ass anymore. It's so easy to vote. So it's nuts. But hey, it's been very, very quiet. Summer's coming. Campaign season should be starting to swing shortly, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Somebody wrote something. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff. I'm still looking at Jeff. Sign your fucking, sign your name. Nope, yeah, and that's the problem. You know, we need some people to get out there and get it done. You know, we had a recall because we let a mayor get in and he put the city in a hole. We got another mayor. We don't need to have a recall. What we need to do is have a valid election. We need people to do what they did in the recall. That's forget about parties. Nobody knew what party they were in. You know what they were? They were part of the recall.
That's
they
right.
had their little wristbands, and they were there and they worked their butts off, and they did a great job. And it was about an issue. It was about it was like Joan of Arc. We've got a cause. The cause was to change the leadership because it was so bad. Well, let's change this leadership. It's bad. You can't just leave him in until we go bankrupt and he doesn't run for mayor anymore and he goes back to Somerset or parts unknown. I mean, it's just, this is the problem. Apathy. And it's like, and rationalization. They love to make excuses. Well, I mean, my vote wouldn't have counted. Look what the outcome of the election. Well, if 40,000 people that had the same opinion you did would have showed up, the outcome would have been vastly different. Do the math. But we're seeing it on a national scene. These people obstruct the will of the people for their own power. Yeah, that's what we need. We need the people to get back out there. These guys. A lot of people pull papers, but they don't do anything. They pull the papers, they get the signatures, and then they'll show up at a debate. They don't go on knocking on doors. And during a recall, they were knocking on doors all over the city. We were at every supermarket, every Sam's Bakery.
We were out until nightfall.
That's right.
We went by the old rule. When the street lights come on, you go home. And that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, we had what? We had between 6 and 8 people in a kitchen on Burt Street, taking all those petitions, making them in triplicate, preparing for the court cases. We had a great team effort there for people who didn't care what party the other person was in, didn't care.
And they weren't politically active.
No, it was about a cause. The cause was the recall. The cause has got to be to change our government now. This is a worthy cause. We wanted to change that one job, the mayor, and we got it done because we got people to transcend this political bullshit about, oh, he's a Republican, I can't vote for him. Oh, he's a Democrat, I can't vote for him. Listen, John Kennedy couldn't be a Democrat today.
No,
they throw him out of the party. He's way too conservative for them. Now, these radical wackos that they got now, some of the greatest, some of the greatest Democratic presidents we had wouldn't want to be in the party that they see today, because they're crazy. This is the McGovern party. This happened when they ran, but that's what's going to happen. Look, the Democratic Party has gone so far left. It's going to be like remember when they ran McGovern? He won one state. Guess what state that was? CJ. You remember when McGovern ran?
Yes, I do.
He won one state.
That's it. And
lost 49.
Communistic state in the country.
Yeah, and this is the thing. You can't, Teddy Roosevelt, continue to go to him because he said it best. He said, listen, he said some great things. He was a great president, my favorite president, actually. And my top two, both Republicans per chance, Teddy Roosevelt and Lincoln. But he said some great things. He said that, number one, that voters have to vote, because when the Roman voters stopped voting and let politicians run their government, that's what destroyed Rome, and that's what would destroy the United States.
And that's what's happening in Massachusetts.
He also said that you have every right to criticize the president of the United States and every other politician. He said, we're there, and if you don't like what we do, you should be able to tell us in the United States. But when we do something right, give us credit. Roosevelt was not only he was a soldier, led the charge up San Juan Hill. He was a great American. He understood that, and he said, you have every right to criticize politicians, but give them credit when they do something right, and we do. We've given them credit when they've taken the right position. It's very rare, so people forget. They think we never do it, but because that happens about as much as the ice ages do. But we do it. And Roosevelt, also said that when you come to America, he said some of the greatest Americans I know are naturalized Americans. However, when you come to the United States, you have to be an American. Read his speech. Look it up. It's called Hyphenated Americans. He said there's no such thing as a German American or an Italian American or a French American or a Portuguese American. When you're in America, you're an American. That's you can say that I'm extraction my roots, my family tree started there, but so did fundamentally everybody else in North America, including the Indians, by the way, just to remind you that they are not, they were only indigenous because they were here first. But they didn't come from here. They came from Asia over the ice bridge. There was nothing here but wilderness and animals when they came over. So, but he also said that no such thing. Your loyalty should be expressly to the United States. He was also a big advocate of requiring everyone to speak English. He said, this is the national language. You can speak as many languages as you want. He would not be in favor of giving a test in 75 different languages. He believed in America. He fought for America in the Spanish-American War. He was a great American. And America was always first. And this is what happens when you lose that loyalty to your country and you want to see the country be about Americans. Not only just Americans who have been here for 100, 200 years, but every American. Everybody who's a naturalized citizen, everybody who is here and wants to stay here and become an American, their loyalty should lie to the United States of America. It's that simple. It's not a difficult thing to rationalize. And yeah, I've been an independent my whole life, Alphonse. I have never been a Republican or a Democrat. I voted in primaries. So if you go back, you might see my name for one voting day as in either party, because there were elections in my lifetime that I voted for Democrats who were being primaried or even in a final election, and there were others when I voted for Republicans. But I am now we call it unenrolled. Used to call it independent, but whatever. Listen, I vote for the person, not the party. Somebody tells me that he wants to give me more money in my pocket, wants to close my borders, wants to cut the fat in government and stop these politicians from getting rich while we get poorer. I'm voting for him. I don't care if he's Republican, Democrat, Bull Moose, the alien party from
the alien party.
I don't care. I do not care. They got my vote. You fight for the people. I don't care what party you're in. If you're fighting for the people, I'm with you, because that's what we've done our whole lives. So it's all about the people.
Definitely works for me. I'll tell you, we're looking at a potential change in Fall River politics, providing we can get the people out to vote.
That's right. We need to get the people. You've got to talk to all your friends. These people who want to run got to start running soon. They've got to get their papers, get their signatures.
And not only that,
TC Jen Adson will bring all the candidates on. Alphonse, you'll be on. You'll have your own show to talk everything you want if you're a candidate.
Not only that, Chick. We got to stop worrying about the freaking candidates, okay? We've got to stop worrying about the people getting out and telling people, hey, are you voting this year? I don't want to know who. I just want to remind you, get out there and vote. That goes miles. Now, if you're supporting a candidate, that's fine too. But make sure you tell people, get out and vote. You know how many times I've worked on a campaign, or even my own campaign, and I've said to people, make sure you get out and vote. And when I saw that person after the election, I said, get out and vote. Oh, I had an appointment. I had to go to the hairdresser. They have 10 million excuses. It takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes to go to a polling place. And you don't even have to do that anymore. They'll bring the ballot to your house. Not that I trust that.
Yeah, especially in Fall River.
Right.
But, let's look at history. even in Fall River, the times we've seen people come out of nowhere and win an election for various offices are the people who put in the work. They doing what we're saying. They did what we did in the recall. They knocked on doors. No, you're right. But I always talk about when John Long Sr. was a state rep for 30 years in my district at the time, the Flint, and he had done nothing for probably the last 20. And somebody ran against him, a guy called Chuck Sylvia.
I remember that.
And he was just a regular guy working as a salesman at, it wasn't Empire Men's. There was two men's stores downtown. What was the other one? I forgot the other one's name.
Was it Sawyer's?
Sawyer's, that's right. I used to go to Empire most of the time. The Empire Men's shop, I liked it better. But there were two. That's when Fall River actually had a bunch of stores. You had two men's shops.
Yeah.
On South Main Street. You had Sawyer's and you had Empire Men's Shop. He worked at Sawyer's. And I live off County Street in Lafayette Park area. And off Eastern Avenue. And his office used to be down near the statue of Prince Henry, where that pet store is, not pet shop. Yeah. That does grooming. It was there for years. I grew up, the thing was there. Because he was in for 30 years. Well, this guy came out of nowhere. One day I'm sitting in my yard, and this guy comes walking up my driveway. No, you got a minute? Yeah. I don't know. Hey, my name's Chuck Sylvia. I'm running for state rep, blah, blah, blah. He went to every single house, and he did it more than once. Every district. It was Fall River and part of Westport. He unseated a 30-year incumbent with a ton of money. Why? Because he went in there and he told the people that he was going to work for them, and he'd done nothing for a while, and he did. Then he went to Boston. He got 2 terms, and then he became a politician, got really rich, and the guy who ran against him exposed all the deals he made to become a very wealthy guy in just 2 terms in Boston. And he got unseated. But knocked on doors. You got to be like the Jehovah's Witnesses. You got to knock on everybody's door. And when you're running for politics, you got to get the people. You got to give them a cause. You got to show them they're not gonna come out just because you made a really good point on a debate. 3/4 of the people don't even watch the debates. It's like you gotta go out, and it's about sweat equity. The harder you work, the better the result. Period. Case closed. No discussion. If you go out there and work your butt off, you got a good chance of getting elected. But you gotta do it the opposite way of politicians. Politicians look at the vote builder. I want to go talk to these people who vote in every election. Well, you already know how these people vote. They vote for politicians because look what we got. You got to look and say, I want the people who don't vote. I'm going to go knock on the doors and say, hey, help me out. You're not happy with Fall River? You're always complaining? Give me a vote. Give me one shot. Let me go to the council. Let me go to the school committee, and I'll show you. And if I don't vote for me. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. And that's what we got to organize. I think we're going to have some kind of little get-together in the not-too-distant future when the weather breaks, and we will host it like we hosted that little get-together at the Elks and try to get a whole bunch of people there and get everybody can look and get their signatures and have a little mix of get to know each other and say, hey, let's not vote in an election. Let's vote in a revolution. Let's change this government.
That's it. And I mean, I'm already looking at some candidates like Chris Peckham, who's out there. He's having a signature party. I think it's tonight or tomorrow, where people are just going to show up and sign his nomination papers. That's how he's going to meet people. That's how he's going to talk to them. Chris knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And Chris has already got name recognition too.
That's right.
And some visibility. And so these people who don't have any of that, this is the way you got to do it. You got to go out there and work.
That's it.
You got to go out there and work. You got to tell the people. Like I said, there are a lot of pissed off people out there, but they think there's nothing they can do. But if you say, hey, look, put me in, I'm going to give Michelle Dion some help. It'd be nice to see that council. And Michelle has pulled her papers, I know.
Yes, she has.
And I'm actually going to go by and pick up one of her sheets, and I'm going to get the people I run into to sign that sheet. And, I do that. Like I said, I'll sign anybody's papers, but I'm going to go out of my way for people who actually work. And if anybody ever deserved to be in that council, she has earned that spot, a whole bunch of times over. She's proven that she fights for the people. And we know who. And when Chris was there, he put it on the line. And these are the kind of people. And that's the thing about those two. They've got a record.
And Chris called out the mayor in public, and he didn't care.
Yeah.
And he told him, you're corrupt. You're corrupt. Secret meetings. Secret spending of $70 million. $70 million that he and his bum buddy, Ken Fiola, spent regularly. And then we see Ken Fiola takes over the Florida Line PM, and there's checks missing. But you have no right to know about that because we're a private entity.
That's right. Well,
I'm really
looking forward to this election. We're gonna be out there. We talk to people all the time. CJ, every time before when he starts walking again, and he can go to a coffee shop because he was always talking. I was always talking to people about elections and stuff. But everybody's got to do it.
That's it. So, everyone has to do it. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. This has been a very interesting show. Thank you for the input. Because remember, if you don't give us any input, we can't share it. I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great night.